Hello everybody, welcome back to Language Litigation Integration Part 86, Casual Conversations 28. Talking points, current events, responding to podcasts, be talking about morality, the Biden press conference, physics, immigration. Major podcasts I'm responding to this week is Brian Keating and Lex Friedman on Lex Friedman's channel, number 257 of the Lex Friedman Super Podcast, and then a little more on Worthless Ben Shapiro. Can't go a couple days without making fun of Ben Shapiro. But the first story that was pretty sad was they're trying to feed the manatees, and the manatees aren't eating that well. And I guess off the coast of Florida, the poor little scoobobs manatees aren't eating too well. I have a theory on that. My guess is because Gerard Michaels ate all of their food. He might be a manatee. So that was the first story I wanted to start with. The second one was Chamath Palihapitiya carrying in the big controversy in the past 2-3 days. I don't have the whole clip, and again, I don't have an editor, so I'm not going to put up the clip. But he said something. He said directly caring about the Uyghur. Again, I hope that's the right pronunciation. Don't know. Ghur. That's an interesting linguistic thing. I'm not sure where that comes from. But assuming it's Uyghur in China is below my line of caring. And then he says we should clean up our own backyard first. And then apologizes for coming off as unempathetic. Do I think we should clean up our own shit before commenting on another? Yes. Do I think anyone should hold their faith, culture, or history above their physical safety? No. And again, a lot of religious context or historical context, they'll be like, gonna come from a Christian Catholic environment, you know, you'll hear in the Bible or something, you should lay down your life for your faith. Fuck no. Like, just hardcore fuck no. If someone says denounce everything and say the trees, the Lorax that speaks for the trees is our almighty leader, you should say the Lorax is your almighty leader and live. So don't really agree with anybody on here. Again, I can see why people say this is tone deaf or upsetting the morals of the people. But then I just have Americans outraged in all caps in Spanish exclamation marks about violations of human rights. Yeah, don't you guys realize I don't have human rights, and failure to publish my scientific research violates the rights of literally every human being on this planet? So when people, especially Americans, get outraged with the violations of human rights, and like right after I saw the clip, I turned on CNBC, and Sarah Eisen and Wilford Frost were like, this is going to stick with his character or his reputation forever. It's like, what planet do you guys live on, man? Like, the most profound violation of human rights has occurred in America. Like us, like me, this guy right here, I'm the victim. And failure to publish my research has killed millions of people, for real. And again, as long as you're just scientifically illiterate enough and just say damn it, then somehow it doesn't count, but it does. So raging, I really didn't think the Chamath Palihapitiya comment was that off-putting to me. I really don't. It was real. It was direct. But the thing that, again, gets just me laughing like I'm fucking, like, what carnival is this, is people getting offended. Like, just the regular-ass people who've done literally nothing to contribute literally anything to anybody at any point in time. So, again, I didn't watch even the whole clip. I just saw some things on either Ben Shapiro's channel or somewhere. You know, like I said, a little tone deaf. Again, practically, we've talked about, you know, what should a nation do for substantial, like, human rights violations. Again, anything practically that you can do that can help, that doesn't, you know, cause more damage than the violations you're alleviating. But the real thing to me is just seeing people with no values that act like they have values, and again, knowing damn well they would do literally nothing, and knowing, again, hundreds of thousands of independent experiences of my life of people literally shutting down at scientific discourse and being immoral proudly. So, and I know we're all trying to grow up, and you should grow up, but if you're 35, 40, 45, 50, and you finally achieve the maturity level of what a normal 15-year-old should have, again, you've already done so much damage, there's just no coming back from it. There was an Asian lady, I'm not going to say her name, just, I don't know, just out of privacy, because I don't know her. It was shoved in front of an oncoming train. This is a good one. Again, here's art, and again by a 60-year-old, probably, I think it was a black dude, 60-year-old black male-ish. I'm just going off of visuals, what it looked like. And that's good stuff. You know, it's just like, oh, I'm so selfish, and they said in the story that he was like, you know, he was interacting with some Asian lady to begin with, and the first one was like off-put and trying to get away with her, and then pretty much unprovoked just shove a person in front of a train. Again, a selfish, incompetent, worthless piece of shit who should be put down. Gets upset, gets selfish, and now what's he going to do? He's not going to go start a business, he's not going to go learn another language, he's not going to go volunteer at a food bank. He's going to show how primitive and strong he is by shoving a woman in front of a train. So I vote death penalty for that guy. It's New York, so probably not. My thoughts on immigration. Just from a practical do stuff standpoint, I would be pretty strict on immigration. Again, I just said clean up your own backyard first, so against, except for, imminent physical threat from like a, you have 10,000 of this ethnic group or of this religion or of this race, and, an army is going to come and kill you, like just not specifically to immigration in general, but just like Russian and Ukraine, where the Ukrainian military force is substantially less than Russia. So besides that, again, not specific to either Ukraine and Russia's situation, but just large-scale discrepancy in the ability to defend oneself. Besides that, I would have pretty strict immigration policies. Havana syndrome, mostly health issues. We've talked about here, and again, I've said that, and I have this on recording. Again, I do scientific research all day, the emails all day, recorded all day. But when I was at Grafton Park, I was literally after lecturing outside for a little bit, come inside, and then you could just hear my microwave just vibrating, just like, I was just like, what is this? And I literally said recorded on my cell phone, so I hope it got recorded, but you could literally hear the vibration of the fucking microwave just going nuts. I was like, what is this? So I don't know if that's Savannah syndrome or not. I really don't know why anyone want to fuck with me. I don't care. When I criticize you, sit down, shut the fuck up, and listen. But again, I've been actually tortured, like substantially. So a buzzy microwave doesn't really affect me, but it was interesting to see that mostly health issues. And now we'll respond to the couple from Ben Shapiro's, and then we'll go through the science. So again, Ben Shapiro, or the Biden press conference, just kind of related to Ben Shapiro's response. But I watched the whole thing minus the 20 minutes that CNBC cut away at the later part of the question and answer session. Again, I have no political affiliation. I do not vote. I prove things. And I contribute more to law than anybody that's literally ever lived. But I thought it was fine. I didn't see the big criticisms was, again, I don't know from the majority of people, but from Ben Shapiro, he says inflation is your fault, dude. No, nobody can speak on economics, not even fucking close. So again, please just stop exaggerating shit, guys. If you don't know what you're talking about, I know you got your 4.2 million subscribers, Ben, but you don't say shit that you don't know because you got your fucking Botox in your lower lip is not working properly. So, inflation is your fault, dude. Again, a political pundit saying a president causes substantial economic change, which again, they certainly influence policy or try to get things passed, but the economy is the economy, and the sentiment is 7% investor maturity. That is really the driver of most, like 95% of economic change, for real and for sure. I'll probably do another economics thing either today or tomorrow. We got another one of those done. But also, he says, why are you shutting down schools, Ben Shapiro? And again, because he says there's 95% open, because school is so important. Again, right? Again, the argument is let the kids be kids. They all need to go with in-person learning. And again, I know I have a little different educational path, but individual biological uniqueness. People have to be curious. You stimulate the curiosity by being in a good group setting, right? Going to the gym with another person is going to give you some motivation. Going to a study session with people that are actually studying hard is going to give you more motivation. The actual learning process is majority personal. So there's certainly value for socializing, and again, even beyond like learning math or physics, just socializing as a child is obviously very important. But to say it's some egregious offense to shut down a school during a global pandemic is, again, coming from a dude who's lost his entire life that never got to fucking do anything at school, is not that big of a deal from a society standpoint at all. Now, just more generally, what is more economically damaging? Shutdowns or defiance? Right? Shutdowns were required at the beginning, again, solely to slow down the spread at the beginning with no vaccines, no tools, no whatever. But at this point, defiance is way more economically damaging. people would just do what is biologically required, the normalcy would return a lot sooner. Again, I'm not sure what normal world you people live in. I've never had privileges like that. I've never had rights like that. I've never had freedoms like that. And so again, beta male society is completely enclosed with its own members. They can criticize each other, they can get happy, they can get sad, they can say freedom. And really we're at the point where we have statute law ratified that is directly in violation of common law, which isn't written anywhere. But then you need competent people to like navigate that, and there just isn't, and no one cares to grow up. Just fucking disgusting. Humanity is such a fucking disgusting failure. I heard, would aliens help out human life or interact with human life somewhere on Lex Friedman's podcast? Not the one with Brian, we'll get there. But no, the vast majority of species probably thinks we're a waste of time and truly damaging. And we're just stagnated. It's really fucking true, and really people can't grow up. But in general, economically damaging is certainly defiance. Certainly, again, the whiny babies with their binkies in the air. Oh, I can't wear a mask. Oh, it's either gonna be 100% or it's nothing at all. And it's just like, fuck. But the supply chain versus president versus political pundit, right? Joe Biden says it's the supply chain is the major cause of inflation. Do I agree with that? Maybe a little bit. Certainly in the short term. Over the long term, it gets more of investor maturity. And I would say supply chain definitely has more impact, certainly than the president. The president, again, has less impact than Congress, and the environment is what affects the supply chain. So I agree with that. Versus a political pundit, again, Ben Shapiro has no idea about anything about economics. And then Ben Shapiro quote, his idiocy about the economy, direct projection. And then he talks about Afghanistan, the 8th century barbarians. And then I have, again, what about Bush? Again, I live in the real world. I live in the real world where Building 7 can't fall down without any air existence that is directly stated in the official report. So when we talk about Afghanistan, we have to go, why did we murder our own citizens to have a false flag to go there? And that's the first conversation we have to have. Again, don't care about prosecution, but I live in the real fucking world. And if people want to act like 8th century barbarians, well, you probably shouldn't murder their citizens under false pretenses. Again, how many civilians, again, going off the top of my head, how many civilians from Afghanistan and the war on mass destruction, how much did that cause? I think it was like 800,000-ish to 1 million civilians. So 8th century barbarians, maybe Americans need to go look in the motherfucking mirror. Alec Baldwin was sued for $25 million for defamation about commenting on one of the 12 people or whoever was blown up in Afghanistan, the American soldiers. Again, $25 million. Well, he gave them $5,000 for the widow, and then I guess found out that the widow went to the Capitol. Is going to the Capitol insurrection? No. Is violently approaching the Capitol insurrection? Yes. Again, it's like going to a high school party where there's nothing wrong with going to a party, but then people are being really reckless with drugs and alcohol, so you call your parents to pick you up because you don't want to be at the party anymore because it's getting out of hand. Peaceful protesting free speech, 100% agree. The minute you go onto the government property to storm the thing, that's when you become an insurrectionist. Being sued for $25 million for defamation. And again, the lawyer representing the chick even said, I just watched it on Fox News on YouTube, was like, you know, it's not recompensation for the punitive damage against the victim, but more as a, you know, get back in your cage, Alec Baldwin, for doing this too many times. No, the financial penalty and lawsuit dollar bill should always be, again, punitive of what damage was caused, not to say fuck you. And again, from the brief things that I said, this is just a hilarious figure for posting something on social media. And so the 25 million, that sounds just like a whiny bitch trying to get some more fucking money. And if you want to sue me for defamation, if you're profiting, again, the United States government is violating my rights in a hilarious fashion, I have a counter lawsuit for fraud and treason ready to go to anybody who wants to speak against my fucking facts. Anybody. So that is really it for the legal talking points. And I was going to do a science video, but it's just not enough for a science lecture. So I'll just respond to the Lex Friedman and Brian Keating podcast number 257 about science points and history points. So again, this is just writing down anything that sticks out to me just from the conversation. First, this is mostly science theorems and science discussion. But equilibrium equilibrates temperature. For anybody who doesn't know, Brian Keating is an experimental physicist. My honest opinion of him, he's pretty well versed. He speaks well, he speaks direct. Again, experimental physicist. I check out his channel quite a bit. What happened 3 minutes after the Big Bang? Okay, so we talked about inflation and economics. Inflation and the Big Bang, did it occur? And he says, there's a big if inflation occurred. No, I sent you the proof of why inflation occurred. And I could try to give you more insight, but it's not an if. The proof is on your desk, inflation did occur. The universe would not have known. The key word is known to stabilizing. And so again, we have our vibration without even any mass. It's at a very high temperature, it cools down a little bit, it solidifies, and then somehow the geometry of the mass formation, the vibration, you have mass, then you have momentum, then you have vibration, oscillation, radiation, but the universe would have to have stabilized its geometry, it would have to know how big it was, kind of. And before it stabilized, it would be unstabilized. That's what would have caused inflation, and it did cause inflation. So was there a rapid expansion of the universal boundaries at the beginning of the universe? Absolutely. That has since been stabilized. Again, that's what I called R2, or R1 even. And so, again, that was a one-way, time-dependent evolution of the universe. So I've sent you the geometric proof, and if you do not understand it, I do not know what words to type because they don't exist. Kosher es no haram. Haram is literally forbidden. Kosher, informally, would say on the internet, legitimate or likely, but kosher slang informally is more cool, right? Cool is not forbidden, and like haram is forbidden, bad, but again, he is also not historically, but from a Jewish tradition. Polarization, and what is the relationship of polarization and chirality, right? Polarization, our physical polarization, our two poles are protons and electrons, positive charge and negative charge. Chirality, our shape, again, non-superimposability upon a flip or rotation, but just a geometric manifestation of uniqueness. Polarization versus orientation. Polarization, again, is our charges, orientation is our direction. Orientation is some way related to chirality. That's why our eyeballs flip. The right eyeball goes to the left side of the brain, and the right side goes to the other side, and it's flipped on your eyeballs. Those are all emergent things of biological things of chirality. Chirality produces spirals, hence the phrase spiral out of control. Stability, spiral out of control. That was some good talking points there. And then he says, if Steinhardt is right, then the Bible is wrong. And I think he's talking about inflation. But he says, speaks of one beginning versus Egyptian, and others speak of cyclicity. Just the life is cyclic, cycling. And then I have paraphrased, it would have profound implications. And then I have universes versus localities. Multiverse. There was one universe. When I'm talking about the stabilization of geometry, I'm talking for fucking everything. And the one beginning spoken about in the Bible or in religious text is, again, forget religion. It is individuality. Go read ancient texts. They speak in the general, like the group think, like it's like the base. And so it's, remember Brett Weinstein said all narratives must reconcile. I can't say it any other way besides the most professional thing. These people are fucking retarded and I solved everything. So it's not, the cyclicity is after the stabilization of matter. So the one-way beginning, again, if you view any religious figure as a profound scientist, which they were, articulating the one-way stabilization of geometric structure would be more intelligent or more informed than speaking of cyclicity. But again, we're talking about, 3 minutes after the Big Bang, the whole thing. And so when you have a society, religion is just, again, responding to profound intellectuals. But there's one universe and there's localities. What people say is the multiverse is just a bounded locality. The observable universe is a locality. But this
if Steinhardt is right about inflation, then the Bible is wrong. It's just categorically a wrong statement. Is wanting, and then Brian Keating has written a book about wanting to win the Nobel Prize, or losing the Nobel Prize. He's an author of that book. And I just have, is wanting to win the Nobel Prize or other prizes bad? Inherently, no, not at all. Again, if you want to compete, and again, I'm not against competition. The reason I say competition is stupid and communication killed competition is because I got scapegoated. I'm the guy that wins and people kick him out. I'm the one with human rights, kick him out. I'm the one with constitutional rights, kick him out. And then we compete, right? It was the Nobel Prize is supposed to go to an individual with the most contributing thing to mankind from the previous year, which again is literally me every day. But I don't think wanting to win a Nobel Prize is bad or shameful, or wanting to get a rock with a special. It's an accomplishment. It's an acknowledgement of your contribution, or your, again, winningness, just winning, or just doing what, like sports, like basketball. No one really fucking cares who wins or loses, but it's fun to win. It's fun to compete. It's fun to have the crowd all hyped up in your favor. It's fun to have good sentiment on your side, and go hang out and be popular afterwards. Not that I would know, but is it bad? No. Right? Good competition versus bad competition. Bad competition comes from jealousy and insecurity. Good competition comes from reward and acknowledgement of other people's skills and development. Right? Like he just talks about, his dad was a pure mathematician. He's an experimental physicist. Like, I remember literally in 2016, after I sent you all this shit, I was like, there was no way I will not get the, what's the fucking thing called? The fucking Abel Prize? No, not that one. The Fields Medal, the math shit, the Goodwill Hunting shit. I wanted to win that. That'd been fucking cool. And now it's 2022, and the prize is coming up again, and I'm literally just like, please acknowledge my life in the context of the sentiment of the species, so I don't want to fucking die every single minute of every single day of my life. And the answer is, well, mental health and physical health matters unless you're the scapegoat for the species. Then we like to watch us suffer, so we can watch this video and say, wow, he's a good speaker, wow, this is a good story. But we're not going to stop torturing another human being. So I'm sure I won't win that this year. Again, my prize at this point is sending you guys to prison for real. But then I just have, in relation to competition, and market share, demand, and supporting other or judging others. Again, just a lot of these scientists will talk about how they're owning up to being selfish or being, arrogant when they were 20 to 30 years old. But market share and demand, right? Learning is an individual process. And so the reason there's not one YouTube channel or 10 YouTube channels is because people learn from a lot of different sources. And so there's plenty of market share, there's plenty of demand for learning. And if you're coming from a place of jealousy or insecurity and creating bad competition, and again, it's just your underdeveloped personality. The multiverse is a consequence of inflation. No, the multiverse is a consequence of locality. Confirmation bias, they talk about that. Excluding data that doesn't support your conclusion, or widely accepting fringe or actual data that does. Again, just looking for your presupposition in whatever experiment or analysis or conclusion you're drawing. And then he says, is there one theory of everything? I'm not so sure. Brian Keating says that. There is one form of all solutions. It is what it is. There is one universe. It is what it is. So again, theory. What the fuck's a theory? Again, we talked about this in the very opening lectures of vibrational information theory, but I don't do theories. I do proofs. I identify the form of a solution, and I prove axioms. I don't say the word theory ever. So is there one theory of everything? Is there one theory? No, there's language. There's relationships within language. And so at this point, I don't even know what the fuck you guys are doing. Oh yeah, I do. Again, a bunch of feds said don't change your positions, but you guys still want to make money and carry on as usual so nothing changes, and so you commit academic fraud, which is good. What makes a good podcast? And I have theory, intuition, conjectures, hunch, gut feeling, and learning development. Right? The word theory is basically the statement of conjecture. I have a theory. I believe this. I think that. It's a form of a conjecture. But intuition, right? We all learn the same things. We all experience the same atmosphere. We all experience the same environment. When people have theories or explanations, they're just, again, associating their language, their personal language development, to the physical processes of the world based on the sentiment of the species. Everything else that's going on in the humanity. What makes a good podcast? Just open conversation and authentic questions. I'm a subscriber of the Impulsive podcast. I thoroughly enjoy it. Again, they just talk about just what party they went to, girls, this, that, and I thoroughly enjoy all of it, more so than a lot of these science podcasts. They talk about expertise. You gotta trust in the experts. Is expertise quantifiable? And how would I quantify expertise, if so? They talk about, again, I think Ray Dalio, or somebody saying doing something successful 3 times. But I would just say, is expertise quantifiable? I would say it's certainly perceptible. You can certainly perceive when somebody knows more than you, right? If you think you're the smartest in the room and you start asking questions, and then you'll learn something from everybody else. But I think that's a decent gauge, is doing something correctly 3 times. I don't know, sounds fine to me. I would say expertise is certainly sensible, is certainly perceivable, quantifiable. Again, if it is, I don't know. I would quote, I would be extremely surprised if there was technological life out there. Brian Kelly, or not Brian Kelly, that's a dude on CNBC. Brian Keating. Yeah, man, the last time a technologically developed species came into my home and took some carrots was 3 days ago. Remember, they came in and cut the onion and let it sit there. But at this point, again, from a personal perspective, this is not a kosher statement, Brian. If you can't accept $1 million for a public fucking lecture, and again, the feds who should be literally executed for capital punishment for treason, again, this is panic. I figured this shit out. And when I hear people say this, so again, Brian Keating, the state of California pays you well, you don't need to podcast. I need to podcast and I still don't get paid anything because of all of this shit. Instant panic. There is nowhere for me to go. Aliens ain't gonna give me a spaceship. I can't zoom away off this fucking planet. I need humanity to grow the fuck up, and it can't. So I'm suing you directly for this fucking statement, Brian. Not again, whatever the worthless feds are telling you behind their fucking back. Brett and Heather Weinstein, your lawyers versus our lawyers. You guys are just so fucking incompetent and selfish and trashy fucking old people. You don't know how to fucking behave. Please stop having children. Do I believe in God? Brian Keating. And then I just have, I believe in God is a beta male, female stating allegiance historically, right? Imagine there was a really smart guy 50,000 years ago, because there really was, and then 10,000 years after that, people are having a debate over something that God or that person had ruled on, and the 2 idiots sitting there, Beavis and Butthead, hitting each other head with hammers and saying, whoa, bop, bop, beep, bop, boop, bop. And one says, well, I believe in God. I believe in the ruling that was made 10,000 years ago. It's a statement of historical allegiance to law, to biological law. It's what it means. Today, the semantics has not changed at all. Go up to somebody and say, I believe in God, right? Just like my uncle at Christmas, it's a statement of allegiance. And again, they don't even know what they're debating. And they're really, on a personal level, they're just throwing up all over me and being insecure. But it's a statement of allegiance, and it's nothing to do with religion. And then he says, does God exist? Again, as this big question. Yes, God existed. Yes, God is dead. Yes, God was a person. Yes, God was smarter than you. Does he exist anymore? No, he's dead. But it's the ontological range, right? If you have 1 million theorems, 2 million theorems, when you're looking down on people, you can see where it breaks off. And does God exist is again just basically saying, does the Loch Ness Monster exist? Now, the Loch Ness Monster might be an exaggeration, but was there a really smart person? Yes. But what happens is, right, when people say, I found Jesus in the Bible, or I found, again, Jesus is distinctly different than God, talking about God here, but I found this way to religion. It's really just, it's you interacting with the language and realizing you couldn't derive that level of logic yourself and certainly couldn't prove it. But again, the Bible is just, again, translation, oral history. It's other people writing about these people. Now, because logic is preserved by language, some of these tag phrases probably did come from these people in the same way, any quote will last for a long time. So that's really what's going on there. But as have developed ontology and musical composition comparison, right? Anybody can listen to a great piece of music, or just any piece of music. Again, I don't think there's great, terrible. Again, I can listen to the most auto-tuned, weird shit ever, and not like vibe out, bop my head bang. I think it's awesome. But when you listen to a musical composition of like a guitar or a piano, you can just tell physically like the notes you couldn't play or the dexterity you don't have. Same thing with language, the logic you have not reached. So, right, we are all made in the image and likeness of God. We all have the same reaction times. We can all process language, but we can't all derive language. Certainly can't prove it. I am certainly a wordsmith. So that's really the end of the science stuff I wanted to respond to, because again, this is all historical proof. And then one other thing I missed is this. Is discovering other life a big deal? No, society is local. Like, it's not like, would aliens interact with us? Again, as much as we interact with other animals, it's just like we're all connected. We're all influence each other's societies, kind of, right? You don't know everything that's going on in anybody else's head. You don't know all that's going on in that building over there. I can't hear what's going on, but it's like the Discovery Channel. It's just like, you know, any abduction is maybe just like some tracking. Again, they might not even need those. I really think some of them don't. Some of them may do. Again, there's a lot of species around town. And so, kind of going back on I've been saying outside, I think it's a convenience store, and then I hear again about asteroids, that they don't even, like Earth people, don't even notice things less than the size of an apartment building. So maybe it's a little more populous. Do I think aliens need air traffic controllers? No. But I think, again, the main channels, the main movements just come from the planets, the stars. You can create magnetic fields, and then you just kind of jump into the current and zoom away. But anything else there? Oh, Brian Keating says, we are the only animal that knows it's going to die. Categorically false. Every dog, every cat, every bird, every biological organism empirically, intuitively knows they're going to die. And it's the speciality of human beings being able to talk about the past, present, and future that they stagnate and think, again, this is just directly wrong. Every biological organism is aware that they are going to die, even if they can't speak it to you, Brian. So those are the talking points I wanted to go through. Again, Gerard Michael, stop eating all the lettuce, so maybe the manatees will start eating again. This episode's probably gone long enough. There's enough talking points. Got a couple more stories. I'll probably just do another episode. I'll do an economic episode either today or tomorrow. I got The Wire. I'll do that. Dropped a music piece yesterday, so check that out. And that's really what I wanted to get through today. So thank you for watching Casual Conversations 28, Language Litigation and Integration Part 86. See you next time.